현대경제연구원의 하태용 원장입니다. 여러분들 오늘 생각보다 훨씬 많으신 분들이 와서 좀 놀랐습니다. 영어로 진행하도록 하겠습니다. We have very big audiences here, much more than I expected. That might be good for you, you guys, right? Okay, let me introduce. We have very distinguished speakers and discussant here. So let me introduce those gentlemen. The first speaker is Dave Eaton. Mr. Eaton has master's degrees in intercultural management from Lesley Universities in Massachusetts, US. He's the senior partner in Korn Ferry, which is a global consulting firm specialized in executive search, leadership development. And he is also a member of professional associations in human resource areas. And he has been also invited guest speakers lecturer at major business schools, including Harvard, Emory, and Boston University. And next distinguished guest is Misa Yamashita. She graduated Kobe University, and then she moved to Rutgers University in New Jersey, US. And then she got her master's degrees in University of Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. She joined the TV business news programs in NHK and Time Warner and Prep Japan, and she joined the GE in 1999. And then right now she's working as the general manager of the human resources department in GE Healthcare Asia Pacific and Japan. We have two discussants here. The first gentleman is Jinhee Kim. He got a bachelor degrees in graduated Korea University, and then master degrees from KAIST, then got a PhD degrees in Kyunghee University. He worked as Samsung SDS and then NHN entertainment companies, and he joined the Naver information and services companies from 2009 as working as a CEO right now. The final discussant is Mr. Dr. Shin Wonmoo. He graduated Yonsei University, and then he got a PhD degrees from Yonsei Universities in organizational behavior area. He worked for PwC Consulting in Korea, and then IBM, and he rejoined the LG Economic Research Institute from 2009 up to now. So let's give some big applause for all those four gentlemen here for the these valuable opportunities. Let me first invite Mr. Dave Eaton for the valuable presentation. Please.
감사합니다. 안녕하세요. I'd like to spend a few minutes with you today talking about the importance of developing what we call cultural dexterity or cross-cultural agility. Imagine you have been trained all your career through education, parents, teachers, business leaders for the technical side of your job. And then your company comes to you and says, we want you to work on this global project team. And the global project team requires virtual communications, some business trips, maybe a short-term assignment, and all of a sudden, you find yourself in a cross-cultural environment. You reach into your gut, into your stomach for what's the right way to respond when your global cross-cultural team is challenging your design process or your ideas, or wants to spar, debate, dialogue, discuss about how to pursue this project's goals. and you reach into your gut for what's the right response, and your stomach is empty because you haven't been prepared necessarily for the cross-cultural adaptability skills that require a change in behavior. There's no formula. There's no set design. There's no rule from school that says, this is what I do. You have to be creative, innovative, collaborative. You have to take risks, challenge hierarchy, challenge status. Because the global project team might argue with you, debate. They might challenge you. And so one of the things that we really look at in globalization of organizations like Hyundai and LG and GE and Naver is this notion of putting together talented individuals in Korea, but having them help us in a global economy, a global stage. So what I thought I would cover first is the changing face of globalization. Did you read the book by Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat? That would suggest we're all coming together in a common place. On the other hand, Richard Lewis from London wrote a book called When Cultures Collide. So which is it? Are we coming together and just being one vanilla culture? Or do we celebrate diversity and celebrate our differences in a way that says, you know what? I want to create diverse by design teams. I want to celebrate diversity. I want to leverage diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences, because maybe some greater innovation will pop out of those ideas. So then I want to transition to the challenging talent picture in Asia. And how do we grow and develop Koreans to work on the global stage? And I'm going to offer you a framework or a model of how to accelerate that development of your talent, of your staff, of your Korean nationals, to be able to work in those global project teams by adding an extra muscle to your skill set, that muscle being called cultural dexterity or cross-cultural agility. So first, let's look at the world that we find ourselves in. Asia 2.0, 3.0 is very much of a culture, of a business community that's in flux. And we call it a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And the work streams that you see below, things like growth in emerging markets, mergers and acquisitions, innovation, depend on employees and leaders who can work in that VUCA world. The bad news is that 4/5 of the world, 80% of the world, is set up for status quo, precedent-based, a set of rules, a formula-based, how things are done. 4/5 of the world does not like uncertainty, ambiguity, or change. But look what's before us. A world in flux, a world that's in change, going after these aggressive business goals. So we know that business success depends on an alignment between 3 key factors in human resources. We need to make sure that our employees are set up with the right business strategy and the right talent strategy, aligned with the culture that is at the core of these companies on stage and the ones mentioned this morning. And that the talent are set up for success with the right competencies, sitting on the right seats of the bus, set up to do their job outside of Korea. So how do we create a culture that attracts, develops, engages, and retains the right talent in order to execute on those work streams? I want to tell you about a case study that I worked on in India that didn't go so well. This was a major global retailer who entered India based on the Foreign Direct Investment Act. They had to enter as a JV partner, 50-50. They could not own the market. They could not operate big box retail, and they could not operate storefronts alone. So they did a 50-50 joint venture with one of the major Indian families that was in the business of mobile phones. They came together and they realized that they didn't have a set of common operating styles. The human beings, the human capital, the employees did not have a common set of styles, values, norms, behaviors that they could use in a basic meeting. The values of one organization and the values of the other were called very different things. And the challenge was that when we got called, they were 9 months behind schedule in opening their first store. When we went in and did 28 diagnostic interviews and some corporate culture evaluation, we discovered they had more in common than they realized. But at that point, the anger and the frustration that was between the two organizations was so strong, they couldn't see the forest for the trees. And so what we had to do was get it back in front of them through a confidential process, put it up on the wall. We put up one corporate culture on one side and the other corporate culture on the other side, and we asked the question, what do you notice about the two lists? In fact, there was more in common between the two lists than they realized. So what we had to do was help them realize that it's not going to be an Indian way or a Western way. It could be a third culture or a third way. So I'll talk a little bit later about how to build third cultures. But the secret to the success was getting them out of this either-or tug of war, my way or your way, and co-author a blank sheet exercise a third way. The challenging picture of talent in Asia that I've experienced, having been over here back and forth for many, many years, is that the challenge for us to get, keep, grow, and leverage talent, very different. We can get them in the door. We can even keep employees in the so-called career for life. We can even grow them on the technical side. We can develop them professionally, technically. What we would advocate is we need to work even harder to grow them in the soft skills. On the human resource side of those skills, we need to help them be better leaders, facilitators, listeners, creative, innovative. And finally, we need to leverage diversity of thought, background, and experience as an asset. So here's one of the most controversial things I'll say this afternoon. I'll take my multinational team, my diverse team, and I will put it up against your monocultural or homogenous team, and I will win any day of the week. But not in the short term. In the short term, your homogenous monocultural team will beat me because you'll have common styles for decision-making, communication, meeting management. You'll be comfortable in terms of status and hierarchy and risk and time orientation. But over time, if I have diversity of education, work experience, country culture, gender, age, and generation, I will learn to leverage diversity of thought as an asset. And I will get breakthrough innovation, creative thought, and I will outperform ultimately with that creativity. So the second most important thing I want to say today is the most impressive leaders to us are the leaders that create diverse by design teams intentionally. They seek that diversity of background and experience, and then they create an inclusive climate, a place where people can bring their whole self to work, and they can express all of their background and experiences. And it's the yin and yang of both of those, the diverse team and the inclusive climate, that can create breakthrough in innovation. And it's not only done through a formal education system. Years ago, the corporate spend was 80% on education, classroom. We'll put our employees through training programs. In fact, what we've seen now is a 70-20-10 split the other way. 70% of the corporate attention should be spent on experiences, 20% on exposure, and only 10% on education. And I would love for my fellow panelists to comment on that later. Experiences are the delta. They are the key ingredient in getting people access to how business is done in other cultures, how you can learn from other folks, how you can feed off of that creative brainstorming and create those life experiences that accelerate your career. So think of experience as an expatriate assignment overseas, or a short-term assignment, or leading a global project. Think of exposure as a phone call, as being a part of a global community, and education still valuable as the formal classroom. The second controversial thing I want to point to is what's up on the screen. At the 4 levels of an organization, C-suite, senior team, leadership and high potentials, and vital many, which is the bottom 50% of the organization, what we are finding in Asia that's particularly important and really the key to success up to this point is what's in the current state column. We see things like top of the house being autocratic, directive, visionaries, top-down decision-making, and revered as the leader, especially family-run companies. At the senior team, we see them implementing those decisions that were taken at the top. At the leadership or high potential level, they basically are operating in a culture of fear. Now, I apologize right now in advance for calling out the possibility that we have individuals across the world who are set up for failure because they're operating in that culture of implementation, execution, or fear. Instead of the right column, is it possible that we could create a corporate culture that fosters more of the behaviors on the right side? Take risks and be creative, drive innovation, outperform our competition at the vital many level from the bottom up. Can we encourage them to take risks? Is 85% good enough to get started? At the leadership and high potential level, that's where all the work gets done. That's where leaders need to be unleashed, to be empowered to make decisions, form these diverse teams, create an inclusive climate, leverage diversity. At the senior team, that's the group that should be taking all the direction. They need to lead by example, operate in a collaborative, collective environment, etc. And let's leave the C-suite to be the visionaries, to be inspirational. Followership should be their metric. So imagine if we were to transition what we expected of our employees, our leaders, our C-suite, from the middle current state to the future desired state. What would it take to do that? We believe it takes a level of maturity in global leaders as well as a level of agility. In maturity, we're referring to individual leaders' ability to operate effectively and appropriate in a complex VUCA world, to have the stability and the saneness to be able to sit with the dissonance of a changing economy or a broken project. But we also need them to have the agility. The agility is the individual leader's ability to operate effectively in a global cross-cultural context. And let's map out what that looks like. At Korn Ferry, we specialize in VIA Edge. It's an assessment tool that measures one's learning agility. There are 5 agilities: change agility, people agility, mental agility, self-awareness, and results agility. Imagine if you knew this about yourself. Imagine if you had a baseline from which to measure your growth and development. Imagine if we had this rolled up at an enterprise level, what we call enterprise agility. And we break this down into a 4 dimensions model, the whole person model. What are the competencies required to operate and effectively implement a company's global strategy? What are the experiences that we need to generate in that 70-20-10 for people to develop faster and accelerate their growth and contributions? What are the traits that we can hire for? And I love the presentation this morning about rewarding and looking for those traits of individuals that really are their personality, that are their genetic code. And finally, what are the drivers or motivators? Imagine if we had a different view of the Korean employee who we want to accelerate their development to be able to operate on a global stage. So let's talk about what cultural agility looks like. We think that every individual in this room and every individual that reports to you or you work with collegially or that you hire has a really unique personal cultural profile. And that cultural profile is based on 48 buckets behind me. No two people will fill out their cultural profile the same. And isn't that exciting? Imagine if you were to form a new team and you looked for diversity on some of these elements. But you know what our natural tendency is? Our natural tendency is to grab people just like us when we go to form the next team. You know why? Because it's comfortable to us. We don't like dissonance. So what we'd like to propose is that the next time you add a team member, seek difference. Sit with that dissonance. Benefit from the diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences. One of the things that was mentioned this morning by one of the speakers was we look for cultural fit. We have values, we have core, and we want to make sure that people fit into that culture. I agree mostly. But the one concern I have is that competes or runs up against the idea that we need to diversify our teams. But I agree, corporate culture is really non-negotiable. But don't we look for people who make us better? Shouldn't we hire people and develop people that strengthen and enhance and stretch that definition? Because we don't need a bunch of people that look and act like us. We need to seek that diversity. So think of yourself as having a very broad new skill called cultural agility. And that skill is made up of three things: cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, and business intelligence. Cultural intelligence is the language of the dimension. It's these dimensions of culture you may have seen from researchers like Hofstede and Trompenaars and Edward Hall and Stella Ting Toomey, where they focus on these dimensions, these spectra. Are you more independent or more interdependent? Are you more egalitarian or more status conscious? Do you focus on risk and thrive on change, or do you seek stability? Are you more direct in your speech or indirect? And finally, are you more task-oriented? You jump into the activity, or are you more relationship-oriented? So imagine if you had a diverse team like this. Instead of the countries up here, what if those were individuals' names? And what if you created a team that had this much diversity? I know I'm kind of sick in the head, but I love that. Can you imagine? You're not surprised, are you? I love that diversity. But you have to know how to manage for it. Because if you don't know how to leverage diversity of thought, background, and experience, that team will disable you. And you also have to have patience to sit with the dissonance and let the process run, because that won't be the easiest path. But over time, my multinational team could outperform your domestic monocultural team. So building cross-cultural agility is enabling an individual to really know themselves, study their cultural counterpart individually, one at a time, each and every scene and situation, to understand the why behind the behavior. In a sense, they're doing an inventory of styles. My way, my partner's way, where are we similar, where are we different? That's the emotional intelligence. And the business intelligence is, what do I do about it? So let me offer the notion of a third culture, or a third way, through a case study. One of the companies I really admire is Lenovo. 8 years ago, they purchased the ThinkPad, the PC division of IBM, and they integrated the culture, not in a come to Beijing and be like us, but they actually created a bicultural headquarters between Beijing and Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. 8 years later, they've just purchased the server division of IBM, as well as the Motorola handset division via Google. Because as you might know, Google purchased the Motorola mobility business 2 years ago. That's a complex culture to integrate. And I do a lot of work in cultural integration and large-scale transactions, M&A, post-merger integration. And we always recommend a third way. In this case, it's a fifth way. You've got 2 company cultures, 3 company cultures, you have 2 country cultures, and instead of naming it the Lenovo way, they're naming it the PC Plus culture. So imagine the through exercise, the 1 + 1 = 5, that you can achieve if you build a third way. And what I mean by building a culture is Lenovo doesn't have to give up on the non-negotiables of the mothership. There are core values that need to be a part of its entity globally. But also think about the human operating systems, the way they do business together, not just between Beijing and Raleigh, but now globally, 40, 50, 60 markets. And so I'm talking about building a third way in communication styles, decision-making patterns, meeting management, how they define roles and responsibilities, how they leverage talent, how they create diverse teams, how they grow their talent. So I'd leave you with this thought. What if we could create Korean employees who are able to add a muscle to their skill set, who are able to operate on a global stage in this VUCA world with the added skill set of cross-cultural agility? Imagine the competitiveness of Korean companies out and multinationals in Korea if our employees had this extra skill set of managing and being a part of globally diverse teams. And the final case study, which I'll close with. We had a French client that built a plant in southern France in a year and a half with French management, French vendors on French soil. Built the plant in a year and a half, considered success. Then, based on supply chain and market opportunities, they needed to go to Suzhou, China to build an equivalent 100,000 square meter plant. Took them 4 years. I asked the project manager, did you expect it to take 4 years? He said, no. He said, we just built the plant in France in a year and a half. I said, what did you expect in China? He said 2.5 years based on the economics, the pro forma, the Chinese government, et cetera. I said, well, then why did it take 4 years if you expected it to take 2.5? He said, a lack of cultural integration. I said, come on, they're never going to believe me in Seoul in 2014. Give me the real story. He said, it's culture. We didn't have the cross-cultural skills to sit down and have meetings, make decisions, listen to each other. We would challenge them and spar, debate, and they would shrink into the back of their chairs. We would go home to our apartments at night, and they'd go back and start doing it the way they wanted to anyway. So when you look at the business impact, the bottom line impact, for a lack of cross-cultural adaptation or skills, I want you to figure out inside of your companies, what is the bottom line impact without cross-cultural agility? And that's really what is the aim. We're trying to develop this in a way that focuses specifically on the business line and equip our young leaders and managers to be able to carry this cross-cultural skill forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. You're so punctual. Thank you. It's a very interesting concept, cultural agility. Here's another typical example of the cultural agility. Misa Yamashita. She's global, yes. Japanese, got her education in US, and then working for a world-famous company, GE, and she's right now heading the Asia Pacific teams. So let's give a big hands for Yamashita's presentation.
Thank you very much for your introduction. And annyeonghaseyo, and good afternoon. This is Misa Yamashita from Tokyo today. I'm really honored to be a speaker here with such a big audience. So, you know, I really hope that can be of any help for you for your future consideration when it comes to the hiring and developing talent in a global environment. So today's topic that I'm talking about is how we as GE acquires and nurtures the talent in the 21st century. As many of you may know, this company was founded by Thomas Edison. He was one of the founders of our company almost 130 years ago. It's a long time since then, But then the quote that you are seeing on the screen right now is what he said at that time. I found out what the world needs, then I proceed to invent it. What is amazing about it is actually this is really true with us at GE in the 21st century. So let me explain why I say it in the following slides. This is the portfolio or the business portfolio that we have in GE globally. Mainly, we have a big infrastructure businesses across the world, and it's coupled with a financial business, which mainly serve in a B2B environment. And that is really making us financially very strong. But then our mission as GE is really to try to build the infrastructure where all the countries are needed, especially in the emerging markets in more recent years. And by doing this, GE is really trying to help the countries and market to be better, and then to be equipped to be a better countries. And that way, we are really trying to solve this, provide the solutions to the problems and what we call the biggest problems in the world. And I really hope, as an employee as well, we are doing it very regularly across the board. Here is just to explain to you a little bit more about GE. We are operating actually in more than 170 countries globally, with more than 300,000 employee base. Korea is, of course, one of them, and we have many other countries that we operate in Asia as well. But then, most recent trend is we are really aggressively getting into the more emerging markets, including Africa, Middle East, Russia, and so on, where we see a lot of needs in building those infrastructures. Luckily, we've been very much financially strong over many, many years. We've been still listed in the New York stock market, which is the only company that has been on since the beginning of the stock market. When it comes to our organizational culture, actually, we are very much people-oriented companies. We really value our people as our great asset. That's what we talk a lot about, and therefore, HR as a function is very much valued in our organization. We also drive a lot of a performance culture, which is very important for us to remain competitive, especially in this very much fast-changing global market. I just talked about the importance of the people. And just to give you some other different statistics just to show that, we hire a lot of people. For example, last year, we hired more than 40,000 employees, new hires globally. And interestingly enough, as we grow in more emerging markets, 70% of these hires are really coming in those emerging markets. We invest a lot in our people, including training and on-the-job projects and so on. So we put a lot of bets in developing our people so that we help them to best perform and then really grow together with our company. Luckily, our company has a lot of long service employees globally, especially in the US and Europe, where our history is very long. If we go to the US to visit our operations, actually you can see many people who are more than 20 years of service, 30 years, or even 40 years, and that's how much we value the people. You know, our people really like to stay in our company. Also, we are really trying to develop our senior leaders, especially in the emerging markets, where we really want to grow very rapidly. And we really believe that having a great leadership in that kind of market is very important to make that business very successful locally. So let me just move on to the topic of how we are hiring our people. As I said, we are hiring a lot of people. At the same time, as many of you may know, GE is very famous for growing our leaders and leadership. Over the past several years, however, we kind of reflected on ourselves on how we are doing in terms of our hiring external talents. And we were almost shocked to know how badly we're doing it in terms of our processes, in terms of our operations and efficiencies. So what we decided to do was, as well as we do a really good job in developing our leaders and our talent, we need to be much better in hiring best talent from all over the world. So what we did is really to change the model of recruitment. In the past, we had all the different businesses in all the different countries had its own recruiting managers, and they are trying their best to try to hire best people as much as possible. However, we didn't really have a good scale or even a good processes and skill sets. So our efficiency or effectiveness of hiring good people was not very good. So what we decided to do was really to centralize all those resources, bringing in best recruiting experts into that operation, and created a center of excellence. We call it COEs. We created these COEs in each regions. In Korea, we do have one centralized team of recruiters who has a very good skill to bringing a best talent in Korea or globally. So that's how we kind of changed our model. As I said, since we changed the model, we put up a big vision to, again, to become a best recruiting arm of GE to try to bring in best people from all over the world. And we streamline our process. We really try to come up with good metrics so that we can measure our success. So we put a lot of rigors in setting up this kind of COEs, and so far, I think we've been doing a much, much better job compared to our practices in the past. The hiring volume is increasing, and again, especially in the emerging markets where we have a lot of needs to newly hire best talents from the market. And our cycle time in hiring is shortening year by year, which is a great thing. Although it's still taking a few months to really bring in good people, but I think this is much, much better compared to what we did in the past. And the cost-wise, also, we've been able to do this now at the lower cost. So it's all win-win. We bring in better talent with a better process with a less cost. So I think I can proudly say today that our recruitment strategy and practice is working very well. And for those of you who are very interested in joining GE, I'm more than happy to spend more time explaining how we are going to recruit our people into our company. Let me move on to talk about development, how we are trying to develop our people. In GE, in developing our people, we use what we call GE values as a foundation in recruiting the people. This GE values is also the foundation of our culture, and this is a behavioral guidelines and really how we expect our employees to behave and their mindset. So this is really the foundation of our GE culture and how we work. Interestingly enough, actually, we've been changing these GE values over the years. I've been with GE for 15 years, but even for that last 15 years, I've seen at least 4 versions of GE values according to the time and the change in the environment and what kind of people we want in our culture. Fundamentally, it hasn't changed that much, but basically, this GE values really defines the way we work and the kind of talent profile that we want. And therefore, we use this, as a basis for our hiring activities. When we rate the people, appraise the people, we develop the people, we always use these GE values as a foundation. This year, or since last year, I should say, actually, we are in the middle of trying to come up with another version of this value set. And this is really, once again, to try to correspond to the changing needs of the business, the external environment, and then so on, what Dave referred to as a VUCA environment. So VUCA environment is really totally different from the way we were working in the past. We call it more like a 21st century environment. And then really, that's really uncertain. It's very ambiguous. Things are very complex. So, we cannot really foresee as much as we used to be able to do in the past. So, given such an uncertainty world, we need to really correspond to that very quickly, and then really change the way we work so that we can, again, remain competitive when it comes to winning the business. So these are the four driving forces or driving themes which is really driving our cultural transformation. The first one is customer-driven kind of market. Yet you may feel, why is it? Because whenever you do the business, of course, customer needs to be the center of all the decision making. But unfortunately, we think GE has become too big, and sometimes we can be very internally focused and almost even bureaucratic in making some of the decisions. So what we thought we need to do is really to change our mindset, to really think that whatever customer want us to do, it needs to be the starting point. And what we help our customers to be successful is the measure of the success. So that was the first thing. The second thing was we need to be much lean so that we can move with speed and a sense of urgency. Again, being a very big company globally, we have built a culture of much of the controlling, what I call is a command and control kind of cultures. We have a lot of layers in the organization. We have a lot of approval process that we have to go through to the global headquarters and so on. So it took so long time even to make a small decision that we need for our customers locally. So again, we saw a need to completely change it so that we can move very quickly. We also thought that we need to be much more adaptive, learn, and then really what I call pivot whenever we need. We used to be very perfect, try to be perfect. Whenever we launched a new product, that needed to be very perfect. But it took almost 5 years to launch a new product. But if you launch a product 5 years later, maybe the business needs or the customer needs may be totally different from when we started to think about it. So what we decided to do is, why don't we do more try and error type of approach? Fail very fast, learn quickly, and adapt to a new way so that we can adjust more flexibly and once again respond to the market needs more urgently. The fourth one is again going back to command and control kind of culture. We also wanted to change it totally to be more empowering and then delegating to the local people so that they can make decisions on the spot. They are the one who knows customer needs the best, not the people in the headquarters in the US or in Europe. So what we want to do is really to try to build a strong local team who are capable and then can be accountable so that they can be delegated and empowered to make decisions very quickly. And finally, with all those kind of things, we really want to change the way we do the business. so that we can correspond to this VUCA kind of changing environment. So with this kind of consideration, we are coming up with this new value set, which we now call GE Beliefs. We even changed the name from GE Values to GE Beliefs, so that employees can see how completely or how much we want to change the way we work within the company. So according to those 5 themes that I just talked about, we came up with these 5 themes or beliefs. First one is customer determines our success. As I said, whatever the internal process we have or internal operations we need to do, it doesn't really matter unless we really deliver what our customers want. And we want our customers to be successful, and that way we also want to be successful so that our relationship becomes win-win. Sometimes our customers say, you guys are too global, too slow. I need to wait for a week to make a small decision. I cannot do it. However, if we put the customer first, we cannot act that way, right? And that's why we really wanted to put this up front as a very first belief that we want to have. The second one is stay lean to go fast. As I said, we cannot be bureaucratic anymore. We cannot really let the headquarter people to make decisions anymore. We just need to move very fast to correspond to the fast-changing business environment. Third one, learn and adapt to win. As I said, we can fail earlier in the process so that we can learn and adapt so that in the end we can win. And we do so by empowering and inspiring our people and with each other. And in the end, we really wish to deliver our results, but in this very much uncertain world. So these are the 5 themes or a belief that we are really implementing as we speak. However, this is a very big change that we are making right now. However, there are certain things we are not changing. We don't want to change. For example, I initially briefly touched upon our culture being a performance culture. That we don't want to change. We really feel that the driving a performance culture with a meritocracy kind of spirit and differentiation kind of philosophy is very, very important to really, make the best out of our talent and really to win the business globally. And of course, we have integrity or compliance as a foundation. This is non-negotiable. I think this is the case across the board these days. However, as I said, there are certain things that we are changing. G beliefs that I just talked about is one. And also another thing that we are changing right now, which is the performance management system. We have been having performance management processes based on this meritocracy culture, performance culture. But the way we do this is something that we are now considering to change. We are just in the process of piloting the new processes right now. And this thinking also came from some of the reflection that we had. Sorry, I think this slide may be a little bit too small, but then basically our key stakeholders within our organization, leaders, managers, and employees, they were not really feeling the current performance system effective or efficient enough. They had different reasons why they wanted to have something different, and therefore we wanted to hear their voices as our kind of internal customers and our key stakeholders. So with this kind of things, now we are trying to change the way we performance manage our people. We are now trying to even call it in different ways, from performance management to performance development. And I think this development is a very important part in my mind, because we are not really managing the performance anymore, but we are in spirit, we are really trying to help the people to be further developed, believing that we have a best talent in our organization, and we really believe in their capabilities and abilities. And what we really want to do is really to further enhance their capabilities. So, for example, when we do the feedback session, in the past, we tended to focus more on their development areas. You know, you are not doing this well, so you have to improve this area. Now, what we want to do is, of course, we still talk about the development areas, but we really want to reinforce what they are doing very well, and therefore they need to keep improving in that area even more. So the way we do is a bit becoming a bit different. We are still in a pilot phase, so you know we have not been able to conclude more details yet. But today I wanted to share with you because this is the latest trend that we are doing in GE. Raghu is the head of our talent development and a chief learning officer in GE. He is very much a big believer in this new process, thinking that you know, how we can, it is in our best interest to really develop our people. And the way we do so also need to be very different. He talks here about the coaching, the power of coaching, how we can empower the people, let them be aware of what they can do, what they can be better. And I think this is another example of how we are changing or trying to change our process. So with this kind of thing, what we are trying to do is, again, to come up with some different cycles of our performance management. And really, we want our employees and leaders to feel very different in terms of the way we develop our people. We have a very great processes in our company right now, but then some people feel this is more like a ritual process, only once a year. But then what we want to achieve is really to try to make it more on an ongoing basis, the part of your life, the daily life, so that feedback can be given every day, not instead of just once a year as a kind of a ritual thing to do, so that people really have, you know, self-development as part of your goals and objectives. So, as I said, this is still in a pilot phase, so we have a lot of voices from pilot businesses and employees. Some people say, you know, it's working very well because it is really in line with this new trend and then changing environment. We need to just, you know, change the way we develop our people. Some people are a little bit more, you know, trying to catch up and see how these changes will impact you or your people. So we are gathering all those voices from our employee base so that we can continue to refine and try to finalize our new processes. So as I said, this is still in work in progress, not finalized yet. So you are actually one of the very first groups who heard about this very much latest trend in GE's performance management. Thank you very much, and then I look forward to talking more about GE and other things today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Misa. What GE accomplished for more than 100 years, even in this VUCA environment, is just amazing. And also in your statistics, I saw 97% of the retention rate, which is almost unbelievable. Let me give you just a quick question. Well, you mentioned about 41,000 people recruited last year. So what's going to be your recruiting number in this year here in Korea?
Okay. Actually, in Korea, we are trying to grow our business too. And then we have identified a new business areas as well. So, you know, we are building some business operations for those new market areas as well. And some of them are not even Korea specific. We decided to put one of the business sectors global headquarters in Korea. So Korea is becoming much, much more important to GE. And then Korea is not only for the Korea market, but for the global business in some areas. So sorry, I don't have the specific numbers, but I can say we are really growing here.
Is there some incentives for those young people who are attending in this forum?
Sure.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Can I say that? Yeah. Actually, we are doing a lot of internship program for the college students. And then I think that way, we can give you more experimental opportunities. You can test us to see if you feel GE is a good company or not. And then, we can also offer you a good learning opportunity for you. So once again, for those of you, the students who are interested in us, please let me know. I have my colleagues who are based in Korea as well, so we can give you a little bit more details if you are interested.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's go for some discussion session. First, Mr. Kim Jinhee, Dr. Kim Jinhee, please.
제가 이제 말씀을 이렇게 듣다 보니까 이제 컬처럴 어질리티라고 하는 부분들이 실제로 굉장히 중요한 부분인 것 같다는 생각은 되게 많이 들었습니다. 예. 그래서 개인적으로 이렇게 생각을 할 때 이제 다양성이라고 하는 거하고 문화적인 다양성이라고 하는 것과 스피드는 실제로 상반되게 이렇게 작용되는 경우가 되게 많은데 제가 볼 때 되게 좋은 솔루션이 사실은 다양한 사람을 구성하기보다는 다양한 문화에 잘 적응하는 사람을 선택하는 것도 좀 대안이 되지 않을까 이런 생각이 사실은 많이 됩니다. 그러니까 어떤 팀을 구성한다는 게 인원의 제한도 있고 많은 사람들이 있다면 많은 문화를 구성할 수 있겠지만 사실 소수의 팀들도 많은 경우가 많으니까 그럴 때도 다양성을 구하기보다는 어찌 보면 문화에 좀 이렇게 어질러티를 가지고 있는 사람 그런 사람을 구하는 게 답이 될 수 있지 않을까. 그럼 사실 그런 질문을 좀 드리고 싶어요.
Well, it's a wonderful question. I liked what you said about diversity and speed opposing forces. It's rare that I think about either or. So I must say my bias when I hear what you say is that is there a possibility for a both and? It's really essential that we produce an innovative, creative breakthrough outcome. That's the goal. And if diversity lends to that goal, then I think that's very valuable. If, on the other hand, diversity would disable that innovation process, you don't do it just for feel-good sake. Smaller teams obviously can outperform larger teams simply because of speed, because of flexibility or dexterity. But I would continue to emphasize the need to seek diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences as a stimulant for breakthrough innovation. And in that way, the best projects, the best teams that I've been a part of or seen are ones that really look for diverse thought, background, and experiences as a lever for innovation. And that is how I define diversity, not by gender or race or LGBT or age only, but really an accumulation of experiences that leads to those diverse perspectives in a brainstorm environment.
Maybe I can just talk about what we do in GE. Actually, diversity is really part of our core business strategy. We really believe in the diversity, the power of diversity. Having various different opinions, different people, different background will really strengthen the total capability of our team and organization. So that's what we do. I think I agree that maybe having a diverse people, being directed into one common goal or one direction may take a little bit time, but I think that's also a learning process with each other. And then the more diversity you embrace, actually the more creative you can be or more innovative you can be. So we really embrace diversity from that point of view. I'm personally very much believing in it, and then in GE we have a lot of diversity initiative when it comes to people. It's by gender, it's by ethnicity, it's really sexual orientation, everything like that. And then we really try to promote those things globally as well. So yes, I'm a big believer in diversity too.
Any more comment for Mr. Kim, Jinhee?
그냥 저희 제가 이제 다니는 회사가 네이버 쪽이다 보니까 항상 저희는 되게 빠른 스피드를 요구하기도 하고, 뭐 저희가 내부에서 하는 얘기는 저희는 달려가는 기차 안에서 바퀴를 바꿔가면서 계속 달려야 되는 그런 경우가 되게 많고, 특히나 또 뭐 오랜 역사를 갖고 있는 그런 형태가 아니다 보니까 티밍을 이렇게 할 때 사실은 그 규모가 굉장히 작은 팀, 뭐 지금 이제 한국 내에서 굉장히 많이 쓰이는 그 카카오톡 같은 경우도 실제로 한 6, 7명, 뭐 지금 일본에서 되게 유명한 라인 같은 경우도 실제 그 구성되는 인원, 개발했던 인원은 10명 언더, 보통 한 7, 8명 정도를 가지고 그 대부분의 큰 프로덕트로 나오기 때문에 실제 팀 수는 되게 소규모 팀으로 이렇게 구성되게 되는데, 뭐 그 말씀 주신 대로 사실은 경험의 다양성이라는 부분으로 저도 이제 충분히 잘 이해가 가긴 했지만, 사실 이때 다양성을 어떻게 구성할 거냐, 왜냐하면 그때 되게 획일적인 거라면 스피드는 빨라서 뭔가 이렇게 프로덕트는 나오지만 그냥 같은 뻔한 프로덕트가 계속 나오는 그런 경우가 되게 많이 있어서, 이런 좀 의미 있고 창의적이고 혁신적인 프로덕트를 만들려고 하면 어떻게 이 소규모 팀에서 다양성을 가진 구성을 할까, 이것이 사실 굉장히 큰 고민을 갖고 있는 부분이라서 그래서 다시 좀 뭐 질문을 드렸었습니다. 예.
Okay, thank you. Let's go for another discussion. Mr. Dr. Shin, could you go?
예, LG경제연구원의 신원무라고 합니다. 반갑습니다. 오늘 이제 주제 제목이 핵심 인재를 어떻게 확보하고 관리해서 유지해서 이제 성과로 이어지게 할 거냐, 이런 주제입니다. 그래서 핵심 인재가 그럼 그거부터 생각을 한다면은 이건 뭐 정답이 있는 건 아니고, 일반적으로는 보통 사업 성공에 꼭 필요한 사람이죠. 그러니까 사업에 대한 임팩트가 큰 사람들, 그런 직무를 종사하는 사람들, 그러면서 동시에 대체가 어려운 그런 분들이 이제 회사를 떠나면은 다른 사람으로 대체하기가 쉽지 않은, 또 노동시장에서 구하기가 쉽지 않은 그런 직무 종사자들은 이제 보통 핵심 인재라고 얘기를 합니다. 이제 이런 종류의 핵심 인재들은 그 회사가 어떤 사업을 하느냐, 그런 거에 따라 다 다를 겁니다. 그래서 이제 사업 성공에 필요한 사람을 핵심 인재라고 본다면, 그럼 누가 핵심 인재냐, 일반적으로 봤을 때 앞서 두 분께서 문화적 민첩성이라든지 지휘의 경영 방식이라든지 이런 데서 이제 어떻게 보면 큰 틀에서의 답은 다 나왔다고 봅니다. 저는. 근데 제가 좀 더 부연 설명을 한다 할지, 좀 더 프랙티컬한 그런 레벨에서 좀 말씀을 몇 가지 드린다면은 한 3가지 정도 말씀을 드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다. 첫째는 우리 사업이 진정으로 필요로 하는 사람이 어떤 사람이냐, 이걸 좀 알아야 됩니다. 이게 당연한 얘기 같은데 이런 걸 제대로 하는 회사가 별로 없습니다. 사실은 BCG 보스턴 컨설팅 그룹하고 세계 인적자원 관리 협회 이런 데서 조사한 결과를 보면은 사업 전략의 시나리오에 따라서 우리 회사가 필요한 인재가 어떤 유형의 인재가 얼마나 필요하고, 이것이 기업 내부로부터 얼마나 공급이 될 수 있는지, 이런 그 인력 수급 계획을 하는 회사가 9%입니다. 9%, 10%도 안 됩니다. 전 세계적으로. 그리고 특히 그 아까 말씀드렸다시피 핵심 직무 종사자가 핵심 인재라고 했을 텐데, 그런 핵심 직무별로 채용을 하거나 들어온 사람을 유지를 시키거나 이런 여러 가지 프로그램을 적용하고 있는 회사가 더 적습니다. 6%밖에 안 됩니다. 의외로 지극히 당연한 일인데도 불구하고 제대로 하는 회사가 이렇게 많지 않다라는 걸 좀 우리가 알 필요가 있고요. 그래서 앞으로 우리가 하고자 하는 사업이 어떤 거냐, 먼저 이거부터 봐야 되겠죠. 그러니까 기존 사업을 계속 한다 하더라도 제품 기술이 프로덕트 라이프 사이클에 따라서 제품 기술이 바뀔 수도 있습니다. 뭐 여러분들 잘 아시다시피 텔레비전만 보더라도, 디스플레이만 보더라도 뭐 브라운관에서 뭐 LCD로 갔다가 PDP로 갔다가 LED로 갔다가 지금 OLED로 가고 뭐 이러고 있습니다. 이게 언제 어떻게 변할지 잘 예측하기 힘들지만은 길은 나와 있죠. 로드맵 자체는 나와 있는 거고, 그럼 그게 언제 변할지에 대비해서 미리 그런 제품 구현에 필요한 요소 기술자들을 확보해 나가는 것이 이 비즈니스를 하는 사람들에 있어서는 핵심 직무고 핵심 인재입니다. 그러니까 그런 것들 미리 예측을 해야 된다는 거고, 이게 한 제품만 할 때도 이렇고, 우리가 지금 한국에서만 사업을 하고 있는데 아프리카 가서 사업을 하겠다. 그럼 이제 같은 사업을 시장 확대를 통해서 새로운 시장 가서 하겠다 할 적에 그 시장에 대해서 아는 사람도 필요합니다. 이제 더더군다나 새로운 사업을 하겠다. 지금은 TV만 만들고 있는데 휴대폰도 만들겠다. 예를 들면. 그럼 새로운 사업하기 위해서 그 사업을 언제 론칭을 할 거고, 따라서 우리가 준비해야 되는 기간이 얼마고, 그거에 필요한 요소 기술자나 마케팅 전문가나 이런 사람들은 언제 어떻게 필요할 거냐, 이런 걸 예측을 해야 되는 거죠. 예측을 해서 선 확보가 들어가야 되는 거죠. 같은 제품을 가지고 하더라도 B2C로 하느냐 B2B로 하느냐에 따라서 사업 모델에 따라 또 다릅니다. 여러분들 다 아시다시피 B2C와 B2B는 어떻게 보면 전혀 다른 사업이라고 할 수 있습니다. 같은 제품이라 하더라도. 그래서 지금 여러 가지 한국의 제조업체들이 중국 때문에 많이 고생을 하고 있죠. 그래서 B2C 기업들도 지금 B2B 영역으로 사업 전환을 많이 하고 있습니다. 많은 사업 혁신들을 시도하고 있고, 뭐 이건 비단 우리뿐만 아니라 일본의 제조업들도 많이들 그렇게 하고 있습니다. 만약 그렇게 할 적에 그러면은 지금 인력을 가지고 B2B 사업을 할 수 있느냐? 그럼 B2B 사업을 제대로 하려면 어떤 사람이 필요하냐? 이런 걸 예측을 해야 된다는 거죠. 그러니까 아까 오전 세션에서 그 소셜 네트워킹 관련한 인재 채용 쪽 얘기할 때 거기 나온 얘기 중에 하나가 이제 퓨처 탤런트 니즈라는 얘기가 있는데, 그걸 알아야 됩니다. 그걸 아는 게 제일 중요합니다. 그래서 퓨처 탤런트 니즈를 보고 그러한 만큼 우리 내부에서 얼마나 그 퓨처 탤런트 니즈를 충족시킬 수 있는 정도의 자원이 있느냐를 봐야 되는 거죠. 그래서 부족한 것이 탤런트 갭입니다. 인재 격차라고 볼 수 있는데, 탤런트 갭을 확인을 해야 되는 거죠. 그래서 탤런트 갭을 해소하는 것이 앞으로 제가 보기에는 HR 부서가 해야 될 가장 중요한 일이 될 겁니다. 아마 지금까지보다는 훨씬 더. 그래서 탤런트 갭이 바로 그 비즈니스 리스크로 바로 연결이 되기 때문에 그 부분이 가장 중요할 거다라는 걸 좀 말씀을 드리고요. 그다음에 이제 뭐 그런 식으로 해서 핵심 직무를 알고 또 어디로부터 어떤 식으로 사람을 소싱을 해야 될 건지를 안다면은 이제 채용 프로세스와 관련된 부분인데, 오전에도 얘기가 좀 나왔습니다만은 전통적인 관행은 공석이 나야 채용을 하는 거죠. 근데 이제 핵심 직무에 필요한 사람들은 매스 하이어, 그러니까 대량 채용의 형식으로 이루어진다기보다는 목표 채용, 그러니까 타겟 리크루팅 방식으로 이루어집니다. 따라서 이런 그 직무를 제대로 할 수 있는 사람이 업계에 어디에 있느냐, 그게 한국에 있느냐, 어느 업체에 있느냐, 아니면 해외 어느 업체에 있느냐, 타겟을 정하고 접근을 해야 되고, 그렇게 관계 설정을 하기 위한 방식이 뭐 SNS가 됐던 뭐가 됐던 뭐 누굴 통해서 했던 어떤 식으로 하여간 목표 인재와 관계 설정을 해야 됩니다. 그래서 말하자면 그 마케팅에서 소비자들한테 CRM을 하듯이 HR 부서도 아니면 현업 부서도 타겟 인재에 대해서 TRM이라는 걸 해야 됩니다. 탤런트 릴레이션십 매니지먼트를 해야 되고, 그렇게 해서 그 공석 여부와 상관없이 필요 인재 풀에 대해서는 항상 관계를 맺는 제가 전에 근무했던 IBM에서는 그걸 이제 always on이라고 얘기를 합니다. 이게 on off 켰다 꼈다 이건데 항상 켜 있다라는 얘기죠. 그러니까 이게 그 공성 여부와 상관없이 우수 인재, 필요 인재 입장에 대해서는 항상 접근하고 관계 설정을 한다. 이런 개념으로 하고 있습니다. 그래서 이런 것들이 하나 참고가 될 수 있을 것 같고요. 이제 두 번째는 그런 인재들이 내부적으로 육성이 되려면 외부에서 채용이 됐던 아니면 핵심 인재가 내부에서 육성이 됐던 그 사람들이 좀 더 육성이 돼서 리더로 사업에 더 크게 기여하는 리더로 성장하려면은 그 사람들에 대한 평가가 제대로 돼야 됩니다. 이것도 좀 당연한 얘기지만은 우리나라 기업들 제가 한 100여 개 기업들과 컨설팅을 했는데요 지금까지 굉장히 세련된 방식의 평가 제도들을 다 가지고 있습니다. 웬만한 대기업들은 굉장히 세련된 방식의 평가 제도를 가지고 있습니다. 또 뭐 하이 포텐셜 인디비주얼이라든지 이렇게 잠재력 있는 젊은 직원들을 육성하는 프로그램도 가지고 있고 또 석세션 플랜에 관련된 것들도 다 가지고 있습니다. 제도는 다 있습니다. 문제는 작동이 안 됩니다. 그 아무도 신경을 안 씁니다. 그러니까 요식행위예요 거의 다가. 제가 보기에는 프로그램의 내용 자체는 좋지만 실행이 안 됩니다. 평가를 하라고 그러면은 점수 매기기에 급급합니다. 여러분들 다 겪고 있는 걸 거고요. 결과로 나오는 게 그 사람이 뭘 잘하고 앞으로 어떤 능력을 더 개발해야 되고 이런 질적인 내용이 아니라 그 사람의 1년 점수가 몇 점이다라는 겁니다. 그거밖에 안 나옵니다. 그래서 그 점수 가지고 성과급을 받느냐 안 받느냐 이런 정도의 얘기로 끝납니다. 그러니까 내가 1년 동안 한 업무 성과 점수가 76점이라는 건 본인한테 아무 의미가 없습니다. 그게 뭘 의미하는지 아무 의미가 없는 거죠. 내가 더 잘해야 되는 게 뭐고 내가 더 잘하는 일이 뭐고 내가 어느 부서에 가면 어떻게 뭘 더 할 수 있는지 그런 질적인 얘기가 오고 가야지 제대로 된 평가입니다. 그래서 평가도 좀 원래 제도 설계되어 있는 대로 제대로 좀 진행이 될 필요가 있다. 이렇게 되려면 인사부서가 잘해야 되는 것도 있지만 제일 먼저 바뀌어야 되는 게 평가자가 바뀌어야 됩니다. 리더들이. 그래서 리더들이 그렇게 엉성하게 평가하는 사람들은 리더 보임에서 제외를 시킨다든가 뭐 이런 방식을 통해서 리더들의 퀄리티를 굉장히 높여야 된다. 저는 그렇게 생각을 하고요. 그리고 이제 그 다음에 이제 외부로부터 인재가 들어와서 새로운 직무를 맡게 됐을 때 그 사람이 아주 뛰어난 사람이고 또 그 분야의 전문가이기 때문에 보통 그냥 내버려 둡니다. 내버려 두면은 알아서 성과가 나오겠지. 이렇게 됩니다. 그냥 두고 보자 이런 이제 관행이 좀 있어요. 그래서 전원을 꽂으면 본인이 알아서 작동할 거다 해서 이제 플러그 앤 플레이 뭐 이런 얘기도 하고 그러는데요. 이제 그런 방식으로 하다 보면 우리가 기대하는 성과를 낼 수가 없습니다. 그 해당 핵심 인재 본인도 굉장히 어려운 거고 제가 아는 해외에서 오신 여러 그 CXO 분들, 여러 우리 국내 대기업의 여러 CXO 분들이 그런 방식 때문에 회사에서 적응하지 못하고 그만두신 분들이 많습니다. 그래서 그런 분들이 쉽게 적응할 수 있도록, 그러니까 적응하는 것 자체가 그게 쉬운 일이 아니기 때문에 쉽게 적응할 수 있도록 멘토를 지정해서 코칭을 한다든지 아니면 직속 상사하고 지속적으로 면담을 한다든지 아니면 HR 부서가 개입을 해서 문제가 뭔지 또 그걸 어떻게 해결할 수 있는지를 한다든지와 같은 그 적응 지원 프로그램 이런 것들이 좀 필요할 거다 이렇게 보여집니다. 이제 그렇게 하면 쉽게 적응을 하고 보다 쉽게 적응하고 원하는 성과를 낼 수 있을 거다 이렇게 보고요. 그래서 인재 관리는 HR 부서에서도 뭐 여러 가지 준비를 해야 되겠지만은 현업에서 다 해야 됩니다. 그 일선 관리자, 부서장들, 그 위에 임원들, 그분들이 다 누가 어떤 인재가 필요하고 데려온 인재들을 어떻게 키우고 관리하고 하는 것들을 현업에서 다 해야 됩니다. 그러니까 그런 현업에서 그런 데 시간을 굉장히 많이 쓰는 방식으로 바뀌어야 됩니다. 우리나라도. 그래서 제가 보기에는 좀 더 그런 방식으로 좀 혁신이 개선이 이루어지면 오늘 우리가 다루려고 하는 그런 문제들이 좀 더 개선되지 않을까 이렇게 생각을 합니다. 이상입니다.
Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions from the audiences. Let me pick up some of the questions for you guys. First, to Dave. In speech, you mentioned variety of the culture is very important. But if the variety becomes disturbances, then it cannot be solved by just doing the conversation. So how you think to solve this kind of the problem? That is the first question. And another question to Mrs. Yamashita. It is very impressive that GE has changed its way of performance management to the concept of ongoing, daily basis performance development. I was wondering if there were any resistance from the managers level complaining that the new process is very time consuming. And how does GE train managers to give quality feedback? There's the question. So which one? You want to go first? Okay.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I think I think this question is very, very valid. And to answer it very short, I don't know the answer yet. Because we are really trying to put this whole thing in place right now. We are still figuring out exactly what it needs to be in place as a process. However, I am personally firmly believing that the managers needs to play a lot more important roles in managing the people. And it's not even, you know, because of this GE beliefs or new performance development processes. Even today, I really feel managers needs to play a much bigger role. However, managers tend to say, well, I'm very busy with my business. I don't have time to develop my people. So I think this a theme of how we can help the managers to be more equipped with their capabilities and skill sets and tools so that they can help their people to be better is a big thing. And then actually that's exactly what I am trying to do in my organization. This is one of my top priority areas that we are doing this year. And then I think this is going to be a big challenge if we put this new mechanism in place. Because managers, again, may not be ready to give the people feedback on a day-to-day basis. They don't even feel very comfortable doing it. And they may not even feel very comfortable doing it only once a year. So if we ask them to do it almost on a daily basis, how can they, how should they need to change? I think that's a big challenge. So I'm sorry I don't have an answer, but then I fully acknowledge this as a big challenge.
Thank you. Please. Sure. You mentioned about the variety of the culture is very important. But if the variety becomes disturbances in the organization.
Disturbance?
Yeah, well, sometimes it can be a hurdle for unification. I think that's the meaning. So it cannot be solved. It cannot be solved by just a conversation. So how do you handle that?
Well, I think it's extremely important. As I said, diversity for diversity's sake is not the goal. You have a core team. The team's worked well. We should keep these teams together. But if we're getting into some same thinking, if we're getting people that are what we call yes men, yes women that just keep saying the same thing that the bosses want to hear, we don't have creativity, we don't have innovation. So you can add one member, or you can create a provocative question that stimulates the group. In the world of innovation and creativity, we're simply asking people to break out of their norm or their mold. So yes, overstimulation of diversity, having too much diversity can be a weakness. However, it kind of depends on what the team needs to produce the best result. And I would just suggest that this is not something that we can dump onto leaders and assume that they have the same leadership skills as they would for coaching, for performance. This is something we need to develop in our leaders. How to seek diverse by design teams to the extent that it is valuable, and then how to manage the diverse climate to their advantage. It's not something they're born with. The one thing I'd like to say in harmony with some of these comments is that I think it's extremely important to put up a mirror or a lens or a filter back on ourselves anywhere in the world and think, what am I doing that enables team performance or individual performance, and what am I doing to disable that? What are the accelerators and what are the derailers? Because I, as a leader, have the opportunity to perform or behave differently as well. And if I am acting in a hierarchical, autocratic, top-down, my way or the highway, chances are that's not going to stimulate a lot of empowerment, autonomy, creativity, and growing my people from the bottom up. If I'm too entrepreneurial, if I'm too chaotic, if I'm too egalitarian, I want everybody's opinion, then I might not have speed. So it's extremely important to have the balance of all these items. My mother used to say everything in moderation, right? Even with a good dessert.
Okay. Thank you. Utilizing my power of the moderator, I wanna ask you a question, my own question. Nowadays in Korea, we talk a lot about so-called S-grade people, the elite of the elite, because the South Korean companies, they become quite globalized. Right now, they are competing with the top-class companies in all over the world. So we need to recruit those top quality persons. Let me give you 2 examples. The first one, guy named Chris Bengal, who's the top car designer in BMW. He designed BMW 7 Series. Samsung Electronics, the top names in Korea, they signed the contract with Chris Bengal in 2011 for a 3-year contract. He is supposed to produce some fascinating designs in smartphones, TVs, and so on. But the result was not successful, and he finally decided to terminate the contract in this year, in this June. And another example is a guy named Peter Schreier, who's another top designer in Audi. He designed the Audi TT series. He was recruited by Hyundai Kia motor car companies, and he pioneered the designing of especially Kia motor cars. It was very successful, and he got a promotion in 2013 as a Chief Design Officer, CDO, and President. I'm not talking about Samsung or Hyundai. It can happen to any companies, but sometimes some guy made a successful careers in adapting to that organization, and some don't. So what is your, because you are the foreigners, you please give us some what as a big companies, we are sitting here, LG is sitting there, Hyundai is sitting here, Naver, so we are all big names. So what we should do? Please give advice. So Yamashita.
I try first. Actually, these examples are not very new to us. I can share with what happened with one of the cases in GE as well, which is not a successful case, actually. Or maybe some time ago, I think it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, GE as a whole wanted to increase our capability in the IT area, because as I presented, our company is more of the manufacturing, hardware companies. But then we wanted to develop our software development capability, so we started to create a kind of an IT COE Center of Excellence in San Francisco in the US. So we started to hire a lot of software engineers and Silicon Valley people, so to speak, into GE. And one day, we tried to hire the head of that center. We hired this person, I don't know the company, but a small startup company based in Silicon Valley. Somehow he came on board, but only, and only in maybe in 1 week or something, he decided to leave GE, telling us that you guys are very different. I cannot do what you want me to do in this kind of culture. So obviously, I think we brought in somebody whose culture is totally different, and then maybe we under-evaluated that difference, and then didn't really do anything about it. We didn't help this person to know that we have a different culture, so you have to maybe do things a little bit differently. Or we didn't tell our people to do something differently with this person. We just assumed that GE is this culture, everybody behaves this way, so if this person comes from totally different culture, this guy needs to change, not us. However, the purpose of setting up this COE and bringing this guy was really to try to bring in something totally new. So we learned a lesson from there. If we want to change something, we also need to be much more open-minded to something totally different. Yeah, so I really think maybe cultural fit is one of the reasons for these 2 cases in Korea. And also, how we supported both that individual and then the rest of the organization more on an ongoing basis, I think is another thing that could have happened for the case that was not successful.
Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, the common theme that I hear between the GE case, the Samsung case, and the Hyundai case is really around expectations management. So I think about the recruiting process initially, the interviewing process. What was told to Chris or Peter or this individual from Silicon Valley? What was shared transparently about the culture they're walking into, as Misa says? The second thing that occurs to me is it possible that the individual has a set of behaviors that make them successful, and when they arrive into these thick corporate cultures, even if they're coming from a big corporate culture like BMW or Audi, the style that was rewarded back at BMW or Audi is not rewarded here. For example, if we let stereotypes run for a second, the 2 German organizations you're describing would be fairly direct in their speech, sparring, debating, disagreeing, challenging as a way to greater innovation. There could be hierarchy and autocracy, but chances are in the design world it's much more of a creative and egalitarian environment. So if they walked into these 2 corporate cultures, and I don't know the corporate cultures as well as you do, and I don't know this situation, but if they walked into these corporate cultures and they were faced with a wall of hierarchy, of bureaucracy, of indirect speech, risk aversion, collectivist, and other cultural attributes that were housed in some of those dimensions in my slides, then they're going to look at his behavior as anarchist, as challenging, as disrespectful, as uppity. And in fact, that's what made him who he is, or made each of them who they are. In the Silicon Valley case, you can only assume that it's an individual who's an entrepreneur. Egalitarian means everybody's opinion matters. Collaborative and consensus process. somewhat direct in their speech. And if they arrive in a culture where they want people to fall into a box and behave in a way that everyone else does around them, there's no doubt that they would feel like they had just been put in a straitjacket and not able to be their creative self.
Thank you. Now let's take some questions from the audience's floor. Any questions? Please raise your hands. Please. Yeah.
I have a question to Misa Yamashita. So I want to know the importance of perceptual ability and cognition in GE. The end.
Sorry, can you repeat? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you well.
Perceptual ability.
Ability?
Ability, yes. And cognition.
Recognition.
Yes, right.
Perception of ability and
Yes.
recognition.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Tough question. No?
Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit more? In what kind of context do you want to know about the perception of ability and recognition? If you can be a bit more specific?
부분에
이 얘기를 한국말로 차라리
네, 이 부분에서
Yeah,
말씀드리겠습니다. 네. 지각력과 인식력에 대한 부분에서 질문을 드린 이유는 일단 한국 기업의 특징으로 보자면은 그 의사소통에 대한 부분과 다양성에 대한 수용에 대해서 분명히 문제점이 있다라는 것에 대해서 알게 되었습니다. 그래서 저는 이걸 해결하기 위해서는 이 perceptual ability가 굉장히 필요한 부분이고, 저는 이 GE에서 크로톤빌 프로그램 안에서 이 부분이 수용이 되고 이걸 통해서 핵심 인재를 만들어내는 과정이다라고 저는 이해를 했는데, 이 부분에 대해서 미사 씨에게 질문을 드리고 싶습니다.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for elaborating. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's very important. And then actually, you know, in the case of my home country, which is Japan as well, you know, we don't really have a much diversity in our society. So it's been very difficult to really develop your ability to be diverse, to embrace, and then really understand the meaning of it. It is very, very difficult. So I understand your question is how we can kind of address this issue and then hopefully improve that area. I only can talk about in the context of GE, but what we are trying to do is, again, to try to create an environment where you really need to work in a more global setting. So, you know, I think it depends on what kind of issues or projects you are working on. But then, actually, if you have such an experience where you need to work with, you know, non-Koreans or non-Japanese, and then make you feel a bit more uncomfortable about the assumption that you may have with other project members, I think that's the only way, in my mind, you know, where you can feel, you can really recognize how much or how little diversity mindset you have. And then only through that kind of experience, you can really embrace and learn from other people on other ways of thinking or other ways of ideas, which you would never had been able to get if working only among your own nationalities. I've had that kind of experience in the past, and then so I think on the job experiences, I have developed that one quite a bit. I am still learning, of course, you know, because more and more nationalities are coming into our workforce. So, you know, I think to me, really learning from other people through a work experience on a joint basis would be one of the best ways to really develop that kind of skill sets.
Thank you. Just one more question. 저기 뒤에 가서 주세요. 뒤쪽.
네, 안녕하세요. 권용현이라고 합니다. 다른 게 아니라
일어서서 얘기해 주시죠. 예. 말씀해 주세요.
네, 경영학을 전공하고 있는 권용현이라고 합니다. 다른 게 아니라 신원무 연구원께 제 질문을 드리고 싶은 게인데요. 기업의 입장에서 그 자신의 사업 전략에 맞는 인재를 뽑는 게 기업의 하나의 그런 중요한 방향이라고 하셨는데요. 제가 기업의 입장이라면 자신의 사업 전략을 드러내놓고 인재를 뽑을 것 같진 않아요. 왜냐하면 그 과정에서 이제 다른 기업이 자신들의 사업 전략을 알면 분명히 잠재적인 경쟁자가 직접적인 경쟁자가 될 수도 있기 때문이죠. 그런 입장에서 본다면 이제 구직자들은 그러니까 기업이 자신의 사업 전략을 공개하지 않는다는 가정하에 구직자들은 어떻게 보면 무엇을 준비해야 될지도 모르고 뭐를 요구하는지도 모르는 기업에 자신의 지원서를 들이밀 것 같습니다. 그런 입장에서 본다면 도대체 구직자들은 어떻게 자신의 능력과 경험과 그런 기업들이 원하는 그런 인재상에 맞춰야 될지 조금 의문이 들어서 질문을 드리고 싶습니다.
그리고 질문 하나만 더 받을게요. 우리 저기 뒤에 아까 전부터 손 들고 계시는 분 좀 가져주세요. 일어서서. 네.
Hello, thank you for giving me ask a question. And my name is Jay Lee from Hanyang University, and my question is to Mrs. Misa. I understand what she empathize, and how does then? First question is, how does she collect employees' opinion, and aren't there many levels of hierarchy to suggest creative idea? And second question is, as a student for me, what is the most important factor for recruiting employees of GE for me? Thank you.
우리 신 박사께서 먼저 좀.
예, 질문 감사하고요. 그러니까 일반적인 구직자들, 예를 들어서 대학 졸업생들 뭐 이런 경우는 차치하고 말씀을 드릴게요. 그런 경우는 좀 다를 수가 있기 때문에. 그럼 이제 핵심 직무 채용자 그런 그 잡 오퍼튜니티를 추구하는 사람들이 뭘 믿고 할 거냐. 일단 자기 자신의 경험을 바탕으로 해서 자기가 새로운 커리어를 어떤 방식으로 좀 자기가 전개를 하고 싶은가, 자기 욕심이 좀 있을 거고요. 이제 그런 걸 가지고 그 회사가 추구하는 거와 내가 좀 맞을 수 있는지, 이게 매칭이 되는지 그런 걸 좀 잘 봐야 될 것 같습니다. 당연히 회사에서는 우리가 새로운 프로젝트 뭘 하기 때문에 당신을 뽑습니다라는 얘기는 안 할 겁니다. 그거는 만약에 채용되지 않을 경우에 그런 얘기들이 밖으로 나갈 수가 있기 때문에 그 회사 기밀사항에 대해서는 당연히 얘기를 안 하는 게 회사 입장에서는 맞고요. 그러니까 그런 것들이 내가 이 회사에 들어가면 어떤 롤을 맡을 수 있고 어떤 일을 할 수 있는지를 자기 주변 사람들을 동원해서 알 수도 있을 거고, 아마 그렇게 해서 정보 추구를 하든지, 또는 그 채용 단계에 올라갈 때 채용하고자 하는 매니저가 어느 정도 얘기를 해줄 수 있을 거예요. 그러니까 구체적으로는 얘기 안 하지만 기대하는 거에 대해서. 그래서 그런 걸 가지고서 자기가 동의를 할 수 있으면 적극적으로 해보는 게 좋지 않을까 그렇게 생각합니다.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. For your first questions around how we collect our opinions from employees, actually we have many mechanisms by which we collect our employee feedback, formally and informally. One of the most formal platform that we have is our annual opinion surveys. This is basically the employee satisfaction surveys that we conduct with all the employees globally. And then we have a set of questions which the company thinks is very important in order to really keep engaging and then retaining our talent. So we ask those questions, and then we get the scores on it, and then we see the trend over the years to see where we are getting better, where we need to improve a lot more. So we see that kind of statistics on an annual basis, and then see where we need to work on as an area for improvement. So that's one of the most formal way to, and the most maybe widest way of collecting the feedback and opinions from our employees. We also have a lot of more casual and informal ways. For example, our leaders organize what we call run tables with our employees whenever they visit, many locations. And then, the employees are invited to, to gather with the leader, and then that way we have a more informal conversation with them. Leaders of course share, with the people how the business is doing and all that. But mostly those roundtables are for the employees to ask questions that they are interested in knowing more. So we use a lot of that actually in many, many locations, and that gives the leaders a very quick assessment on what's going well, what's not going well. And if leaders find anything which is very concerning, then we really try to tackle it very, very quickly. So those are the two examples that I can share with you. When it comes to what kind of a profile we are, wanting from a students, of course, the GE values and the GE beliefs are the fundamental, profile that we are looking for. But on top of that, what I would say is somebody who is eager to learn is, I think, somebody who will be very fit to our culture. We really encourage everybody at all levels to continue to learn within our companies. Learning is not just for the junior people or people who took on the new roles. Our senior leaders continue to learn their new culture or new skill sets, new leadership skills and all that. So learning is also another fundamentals that we have in our organization. So anybody who wants to grow and want to be successful in your life, and in order to do so, want to keep learning, is somebody that GE is definitely interested in having in our organization.
Thank you so much. We already over more than 99 minutes over our scheduled time, but why don't you give just a final advice to our young Korean audiences? You and Mr. Kim Jinhee, you first, Dave?
Yeah, I was thinking about the student in the audience, and I was thinking about what we're seeking to do as global organizations versus domestic organizations. And I really want to encourage people to create a different kind of CV or resume. Go beyond the technical side. Go beyond the schooling and education that parents have rewarded kids for developing to test out, to become one of the rare few that really has the top marks. And really, in the 3 E's of learning: experience, exposure, and education, think about beefing up or strengthening your experience and exposure. And there's lots of ways to do that. And I think one of the most important things is to change the tone of your CV or resume to include some of these other agilities. Show, when you present your candidacy or when you think about your own development, even if you're in the audience and you currently have a certain role and you're trying to take on a new role, or you're recruiting and seeking new talent, look for those agilities like mental agility, change agility, people agility, as well as results agility. And make sure that self-awareness is #1. Because without self-awareness, you really don't have that benchmark or baseline from which to measure a gap. So they say the most important quality to have as a super global leader is self-awareness. Because once you have that self-awareness, you can understand gaps between you and others, gaps between you and corporate cultures, gaps between your current state and your future aspirational state. And I would just add cross-cultural agility as a critical add-on. By exposing yourself through study abroad or global exchange programs or short-term assignments or anything you can do to get on these global project teams, because it not only increases your language efficiency or fluency, but it expands your corporate fluency as well. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you to the forum for inviting me.
김진희 사장님 마지막으로 말씀해 주시고 끝마치겠습니다.
그냥 짧게 말씀드리면 전 산업계의 변화가 점점 주기가 짧아지고 있다. 그리고 그 짧은 변화의 주기 때문에 어찌 보면 과거에 누군가에게서 몇 번 텀을 돌아서 사이클을 돌아서 배울 수 있는 것들이 있었고 그거를 또 열심히 배우면 따라갈 수 있는 그런 어떤 시대도 있었지만 이젠 점점 변화하고 친구처럼 지내야 된다. 사실 누가 가르쳐 주기보다는 그냥 시장을 읽고 그 시장 안에서 새로운 변화를 찾아내고 그래서 모든 기업들이 다 전쟁터 같은 시장 상황에 맞들어 있기 때문에 가장 평등해질 수 있습니다. 사실 직급이 파괴되고 뭐 연령을 따지지 않고 남녀를 따지지 않는 가장 기본적인 이유는 살아남고 생존하고 아주 그 절실한 그런 상황에서는 그 사람이 어떤 사람이 가리지 않습니다. 그래서 시장을 잘 따라가고 변화를 잘 따라가는 사람이라고 하면 사실 어떤 인더스트리에 뛰어들어도 사실 리더로 성장하고 큰 성공을 거둘 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다. 그래서 항상 시장 잃지 마시고 변화를 친구처럼 삼으시면 앞으로 긴 성장의 길이 있을 거라고 생각합니다. 감사합니다.
네, 여러분 멀리서 여기까지 이 포럼에 참석하기 위해서 달려와 주신 이 두 분 및 우리 LG의 신 박사님 그리고 네이버의 김 사장님께 마지막으로 뜨거운 박수 좀 쳐주시기 바랍니다. Thank you so much. Let's close up the session. Thank you.